Добър ден на всички. Тук е господин Попингер, заместник посланник на Израел. Eliezer. Както разбрахте, уважаеми дами и господа, в рамките на редовния курс на магистърската програма Национална сигурност, каним лектори от различни държави, от различни институции в България. Днес лекцията ще открием с господин Сандерг, Eliezer Сандерг, който е бивш министър на държавата Израел. Нека да ви прочета кратка биографична справка за него. Министър на националната инфраструктура, енергия и вода, инициира реформа за независими производители на електроенергия, поставя основните значителни промени в водната политика. Знаете, че Израел няма много вода. Консултира изграждането на инфраструктурата за природен газ на Израел. Преди това, 2003 година, е министър на науката и технологиите. Създава Националния съвет за наука и технологии и програмите за научна инфраструктура, разширява космическото сътрудничество с нови проекти, увеличава бюджета за научни изследвания и подкрепата за нови научни области. Също така, преди това заема длъжност председател на правителствения комитет на министрите по наука и технологии, член на правителствения комитет по икономика, заместник министър на образованието, културата и спорта, отговарящ конкретно за спортните дейности, дейност в Кнесета 1992-2006 година, член на Кнесета 13-16 Народно събрание, заместник председател на Кнесета, член на различни парламентарни комисии по икономика, конституция, право и правосъдие, наука и технологии, труд, социални грижи, здравеопазване, борба с наркотиците, имиграция, интеграция, образование, култура и спорт. Преди това член и ръководител на израелската парламентарна делегация в Съвета на Европа, председател на парламентарните групи на партията, които представлява в парламента, заместник председател на избирателната комисия, председател на подкомисията за законопроекта на дружествата. Няма да продължавам да уча всички дейности, които е ръководил. Образованието му е в бакалавър по право в университета на Тел Авив, след което завършва магистратура, лейтенант в прокуратурата на израелската армия, владее писмено и говоримо, иврит и английски, роден 1962 година, като в град Хайфа, женен, има 3 деца, местожителство Хайфа, Израел. Знаете, че при такива случаи, при нашите чуждестранни гости, винаги уважаваме страната, по която произхожда нашия гост. Моля се става и на крака да слушаме химна на държавата Израел. С уважение към българския химн. Позволете ми да поздравя нашите гости. На първо място ще спомена Ивелополския епископ Тихо, който е член на настоятелството на нашия университет. Моля за вашите аплодисменти. Няма да пропусна председателя на Комисията по правата на човека и вероизповеданията към Народното събрание, господин Красимир Събев. Полковник Борислав Генов, началник на Института по отбрана към Министерството на отбраната. Разбира се, не на последно място съм приятел изненадан от професор Авраам Ескинази, мой асистент по време на следването. Професор Николай Витанов, професор Вичев и както Михайлов от УНСС. Тук е ръководител на катедра по национална сигурност, професор бригаден генерал Пламен Богданов. Бившата началница на военна академия и нашия преподавател и генерал Евгений Манев, генерал-майор доцент Руди Ангелов. Темата на днешната лекция, както съм пропуснал някой, моля за извинение, темата на днешната лекция ще бъде на английски, ще го кажа първо, The Case of Israel. Много обширна тема на лекцията. Само пропуснах Яков Джераси, моля за вашите аплодисменти, той е много разбира се, и заместник ръководителя на мисията на държавата Израел в България, негово превъзходителство Попингер. Така за темата на лекцията ще бъде случаят Израел. В рамките на един академичен час ще моля господин министър Сандерг да запознаете с вашите виждания за държавата Израел и за нейното отражение.
Shalom everyone and good morning, Professor Nache, Your Excellency, Bishop, Excellencies, Your Excellency from the embassy. Thank you all very much for coming here. I see my picture over here, it's the same tie. I should have come with the same shirt, but it's me, with more hair, as you can see. I'm very privileged to be here today, and just to share with you in a few words the way we look in the situation in Israel in the past 2+ years. October 7th, 2023 was a complete shock for Israel, for Israeli citizens. And I think that the images that we're seeing around the world shocked also any humanitarian, any person in the world who care for human values. I want to go back with you to that point in time. What happened in that day is that by complete surprise, Hamas, which is a radical Islamist organization in Gaza, attacked Israel. More than 1,200 Israelis were killed. And when I say killed, it's not only by bullets, it's not only by the invasion of those people crossing the border from Gaza to Israel. It's by rape of women and then killing them, rape of men, cooking little babies in ovens, in microwaves, a little baby of a few weeks, few days into a microwave, putting them to be cooked until he dies. When the mother is in the room, listening to the cries of her child, helpless. The sights that we saw and we've been through in these days were reminded us very much of what happened during the Holocaust, where Jewish people were not be able to be protected or defend themselves, taken and killed in concentration camps by the Nazi Germans and their collaborators. I know Bulgaria is a completely different story in that case, and what the Bulgarian king, government, and people did during the times of the Holocaust, Second World War, is unforgettable in our history, in the Jewish history, and the Jewish people appreciate and is grateful for that. We spoke with the Archbishop about that just before I came here. We are grateful for that until this day. But Bulgaria at that time was different. It was an exception, unfortunately, among the other nations of Europe. And Jewish people who lived a normal life, suddenly their life were under risk. under attack, and 6 million of them were killed. And one of the fundamental principles of the creation of the State of Israel is that we will be a shelter, a home to the Jewish people, returning back to our homeland after close to 2,000 years in diaspora. But one of the things that we said to the Jewish communities around the world is never again. It will never happen again. And suddenly in Israel, 1,200 people were killed in one day by a mass that crossed the border to attack. And in the first hours, actually the first day or two, we were almost helpless to save those people who live next to the Gaza border. And for us, it was terrible. Not only people were killed, as I said, around 1,200 people in the first day, but 240 were kidnapped to Gaza by the people who invaded. Now, the people who invaded were the Hamas organization, but they were not alone. They were escorted by individuals who just take the advantage and cross the border. And whom did they attack? They attacked the people who live near the border in what we call kibbutzim or other villages around the Gaza Strip from the Israeli side of the border. Because you have to remember, Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005. So for the past 20 years, Gaza is run by the Palestinians themselves. Unfortunately, Hamas took control there, and that's the extremists who run it. But it's not under Israeli control from 20 years by now. Actually now it's a little bit even more. Now, mass of people came across the border, raped, steal, took hostages, and whom did they take? Among those people that were hijacked to Gaza were people that helped the Palestinians within those 20 years as they need to cross the border, to go and receive medical treatment in Israel, to find jobs in Israel. They knew the people, and they still came and took them to Gaza as hostages or killed them. That was a shock for us because it reflected to us the importance of the existence of the Jewish state on one hand, and on the other hand, that we need to be aware to who are the neighbors on the other side. And we need to be very careful because unfortunately the other side is not ready to live in peace with us, and they declared that for 20 years. Since Hamas took control of Gaza, it was actually 2006 thereafter, they keep on saying, we will attack Israel. Lucky enough, they were the only ones to attack in that day, because on the north of Israel, along our border with Lebanon, there is another organization, probably you heard of, called Hezbollah, which is another extremist organization supported by Iran mainly, but not only Iran. And if God forbid the attack would have come in the same day, from two sides of the border, one in the north and one in the south, I don't know what would have happened in Israel. But the Hezbollah waited one day, they were not coordinated, and we were already ready to receive their attacks. That started only one day after. They did not wait too long, but at least we were ready. Now, after a while, and not too long unfortunately, suddenly other voices start to be heard, blaming Israel with a variety of lies. Actions that did not happen, or interpretations to actions that are indicating towards the lie. And I would like to share with you some of it because, you know, with the social media, with maybe also the traditional media, not friendly with Israel for many years, we find it very difficult to challenge it. And I don't think that me speaking here will make the difference for the world. But at least, you know, we will make one step forward towards trying to explain the Israeli case in a different way and to expose to you facts vis-a-vis lies. We left the Gaza Strip since 2005, and when people say that they are under occupation, etc., no, it was run by Hamas, by a Palestinian organization for 20 years. But what did they do with all the funds they received? Billions of US dollars were spent to build tunnels under the ground, were spent to build a military force. Today in Gaza, which is not a large territory, we have approximately, we estimate, at least 500 kilometers of tunnels under the ground, okay? Now, these billions should have gone to build a better administration and maybe hospitals, education services, roads. The money went there because they were preparing for a war, a guerrilla war at terrorist group that is building its abilities inside and among population, under the ground of places, and take advantage of facilities there in order to build their strength. What do I mean by that? For example, their weapons storage, where there are rockets that they shoot to Israel in the past 20 years, sometimes more intensively, sometimes less. They were stored under hospitals, they were stored under schools, within mosques, and we use those facilities to shoot the rockets towards Israel. Now what do? You need to destroy those rockets, because one of our, I believe, crucial understandings and decisions after October 7th was that we cannot continue with the situation that we have such an enemy on the other side. It's a terror organization and we need to eliminate it. We need to eliminate it for our security and benefit, and honestly speaking, I think we need to eliminate it for the benefit of the people of Gaza, because these people control the others by force, and the chance that what I call more moderate, more collaborative leadership to raise is impossible as long as they are there. So when you do that, you need to attack, and you need to blow their ammunitions, and you need to harm and kill the terrorists. But the terrorists, as terrorists, they always blend themselves into populations, and how you pick them out from the population without harming the rest of the population. Now, we tried our very best, but we were blamed with what they called genocide. Now, it's very important to understand what we did and why this claim of genocide is not true. First of all, we took measures no other country took when they are fighting terrorists ever since, or enemies from the other side. Every time we had the information about the existence of weapons or the presence of terrorists in a certain place, we announced the population that we are going to attack that place. The Gaza citizens, we tell them, you have to leave the place. You have to move to another area. We made like safe passages, areas where they can move from one place to another, so we can come in, blow the tunnels, blow the ammunition storage that is there, and also kill the terrorists. We had a special system where we call them by phones. You know, Israel technology is, we can talk about that later, is quite good. And we are able to call the cell phones of the Palestinians, send them WhatsApp and text messages, tell them, we will attack tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, please leave the area, move to another place. If you really want to do a genocide, will you tell the people to move? Will you tell the people to go? Of course not, but we did not have any interest to harm the individuals as much as we can, okay? We gave them safe passages, we let them know, we sent pamphlets from the air, we tried to do our best. In many cases, Hamas were the ones to tell the people, don't dare to go, stay here, because they were their buffer, they were their human shields. And it's true that citizens were killed, because in war, that is what happened. But I checked, and you know, in military history textbooks, they teach you that the ratio of population suffering, meaning death, among within a war area, when it's an urban war area, is usually 1 to 9. For every soldier or terrorist of the enemy that is killed, 9 civilians are killed. In our statistics, it's 1 to 2, which means we took as many or as much as we could measures in order to prevent the other side, innocent people or civilians, from being harmed. Still, we are accused of a genocide. And if you go to the numbers that are given are between 40,000 to 70,000 Palestinians killed during the 2 years of the war. And I'm very doubtful about this number, and I would like to share with you the reasons. First of all, the numbers comes from the Ministry of Health of Gaza. Who is the Ministry of Health of Gaza? Hamas. They nominate the people, they control it, it's their people, and I think that their ability to count is very doubtful, because they have a very clear interest to raise the numbers. They include all the terrorists that were killed within the number. So if it's 40,000 to the minimum to 70,000, I believe at least, I don't know, 2/3, 60, 80% must be the terrorists that we kill, because we did our best to do that. So if you take out the terrorists, that I think that we have at least a very justified case to attack, then the total number is relatively much smaller. And the other question that you ask yourself, if there are so many casualties, where are the graves? I mean, not everybody is under the ruins because it does not work like that. Where are the graves of so many people? The answer is that not that many people died, and therefore you cannot see such a mass grave location or graves location in Gaza. That was one lie that was amplified everywhere because numbers are quoted as an official number given by an official entity, the Ministry of Health of Gaza. But you look back and you see who's behind it and you understand that this is the propaganda ministry of Gaza at the same time, because these are the policy of the Hamas that is executed. This is the policy of Hamas executed everywhere, including in giving wrong numbers. Speaking about individuals, a month after the war started, there was a poll, public opinion poll. Don't ask me how they did it in Gaza, but we did not do it. It's not Israeli work. It's the work of some internationals. And the result was that 59% of the population supports Hamas. After the war started, after we started to bombard the place, after we started to go there to kill the terrorists and bring back the hostages, still 59% of the population supported it. And I can tell you that when the attack happened on October 7th, how do we know what happened? From the videos, from the WhatsApp clips that they sent back home as they did what they did. The person is calling his parents, and we have the call because we can listen to all the conversations in the area, and he said, "Mother, father, I just killed 9 Jewish people. I just raped 3 women, and I shot them after," and they're proud of it. And these are civilians who joined the Hamas to attack Israel. So what we expected to do in the eyes of the world? To stop everything and wait for the next attack? To say, "Oh, please don't come back, don't attack us anymore"? No, it is very clear that what was slowly and gradually developed through or within the 20 years between 2018 years, between 2005 and 2023, will escalate if we don't put it to an end. And that was the government decision, to put to an end the rule of Hamas in Gaza. And it takes casualties from both sides. Hundreds of soldiers were killed by the Israeli side and civilians, in addition to the ones that were killed on the first day. And it takes efforts, and unfortunately also innocent people might die. So when we talk about genocide, if we really planned, God forbid, to do a genocide, we could have done much more and more efficient. These are stories, lies, that the facts cannot support. But when you say one word and you print it in different places, or you have 2 people to kind of objectively, and it's not objectively, reported from Gaza, then suddenly it becomes a fact. And when you repeat a lie enough times, people will start to believe. That was said by Goebbels, the minister of propaganda of Hitler. Now, who are the journalists? Most of the journalists that report. They are Gazan people who live in Gaza and give the service to international or other newspaper services. They are chosen and controlled by Hamas. Ideologically, they support Hamas, so you don't have there what we call objective media. I wish the journalists in Israel will be such pro-government like the ones that report from Gaza, okay? And in most countries, journalists usually stand on the other side. They try to be objective and sometimes to be like a counterbalance to government in the Western world. But there, in Gaza, they just report what the government tells them to say. There was another lie that we just tried to demolish Gaza for the fun of it. The example they tried to show was the tall buildings that were demolished in Gaza, okay? Most of the tall buildings are not there anymore, but there was a reason for that. Hamas used those residential buildings to view the Israeli forces as they come in, to locate individual soldiers to try to hit them. And we understand that those tall buildings are serving Hamas needs. And this is why Israel decided to bring the ones that we need to bring down to demolish it. It was not just done just for the fun of it. It was done for a purpose. But when you look into a fake genocide claims, then it comes together with the description of destroying Gaza as such. No, we believe that in the future, we hope, the mindset of the people there will be different. And then the whole place can be flourished. I think President Trump said that it can be another Singapore. I'm not sure about Singapore exactly, but there's another different potential, a good potential for the whole area. But if people will not change, if their support to the Hamas will not change, and as long as Hamas is there, it's not going to happen. And one of our roles now is to demolish the Hamas abilities in order to bring security and safetyness to our side of the border. And also, I believe it will contribute to the Gazan people if they like. It's not our issue, but at least we will give it a chance. There was another lie that was going on, and actually it was not one lie. There were a few of them combined together with pictures that were published. I'm sure all of you saw that picture of very poor, very young, I wouldn't say baby, but a very young child, a woman, a girl, I think, that looks like a skeleton, living skeleton, okay? And they say there is hunger in Gaza, people are starving to death. First of all, if you look into the face of her mother and her brother next to her, you can see that they don't look like people who suffer from famine. They are not hungry people. And the reason is that that specific girl suffered from a genetic disease. I think it's cystic fibrosis, but I'm not sure about the name of the disease. And she's like that because she was born like that. But when the picture was printed and published all around the world, it took us 3, I think, days or 4, His Excellency can correct me, but a few days before we identified the girl, I mean her mother and her, and understand what's the real story, what is the truth. But by the time that we understood that this girl is not hungry, she's not starving to death, she's just suffering from a DNA or genetic problems, it was too late. The picture was everywhere. And you know, they say, a good picture is equal to 1,000 words. And when the media published it, some newspapers, after a few days in England and in America, said that that was a wrong picture. But where did they publish it? The picture of the lady, of the baby, or the child was in the first page. Their announcement that that was a fake picture was, I don't know, in page 25 among the publicities of the people who stopped smoking because they died. Okay, so it's like, it's not in the real place. And it's not balanced, and nobody reads these little letters over there. There was another very famous case, I think it was in the first year, where they had a picture of a young girl, putting her hand like that, asking for food. And it was a very tight, I saw the picture and I felt bad. It turned out that this is a picture from the year 2014, okay, of Yazid. Yazid is a small, I think, Christian community in North Iraq and East Syria. When they were attacked by ISIS, the children were hungry and she was asking for food. So they just copied the picture, put it as a picture of a Gazian girl asking for food, and that was running all around the world. By the time we compared and we understood, again, 2 days after, it's too late. The media will not return back because now the media needs to say that they are not transparent and they do not report the truth. Who likes to admit its mistakes so much? That's another example. I remember another one of a girl that is seen taking from the ruins of a house, carried by a person in 2 hands with the pyjama. And then the same girl with the same pyjama, her picture appeared like if it's taken from 3 different ruined houses. So the ruins behind her are different, but it's the same girl carried by the same person wearing the same pyjama. So was she that bad lucky to live in 3 buildings wearing the same pyjama, rescued by the same person in 3 different days? No. AI, technology, and the ability to combine her picture into 3 different sites enabled them to publish 3 different pictures. But most of you who don't really dive deep to the conflict, and honestly, it's not your issue, so I don't expect you to do so. You saw a picture, you're sad, you're shocked, and if you see the picture a few days after from another place, you will not compare it. It's like it's already passed in your mind. What dies is just the memory that something wrong is going on there. But something wrong went in Israel in October 7th, 2023, and this was the beginning of everything. And what we try is, when we attack, is to minimize And there are people, civilians, only innocent civilians that are harmed. That's natural in a war. And as I said, we try to minimize this number as much as I can. Another thing that is coming up all the time is that Israel is an apartheid country. That comes usually together with few claims that I'm trying to confront in this conversation with you. And you think about it, and sometimes you need to read twice to say, is it true? Are these people joking or what? Because, I just give you an example. My brother became twice a grandfather in a gap of 2 weeks, okay? From 2 daughters, not from the same one. It's not a miracle. So, in the hospital, where his daughters were giving birth, in the same room, because it's a public hospital, it's not a private one, you have 3 beds in the room. 2 out of the 3 beds were Arab women. The doctors that gave birth and held them, or some of them are Arab, some of them are Jewish, some of them are nurses that are both either Arabs or Jews. It's everywhere. Students in the university, you have so many of the Arab. It's not a racist country, because being racist is against our values. It's against our values from the Bible, and it's against our values from history. What did the Germans do to the Jewish people? Exactly that. They said Jews are not allowed to the universities, when the Nazis came, you're not allowed to possess property, etc. This is not the case in Israel at all, okay? But when you come and shout a slogan, it's very difficult to fight a slogan. And I can tell you that there are those people who shout from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. And if you look into history or geography and you ask them what river, what sea, many of them don't know the name of the river nor the sea. Definitely they don't know that the whole state of Israel is between the river, the Jordan River, and the Mediterranean Sea. So if you say from the river to the sea, it means eliminate the state of Israel. It's not bringing 2 sides of the conflict to peace, no matter for the moment what is the arrangement of the peace. It's about saying one side does not have the right to exist. And we will never agree for that, because for almost 2,000 years we pray to return to Israel, our homeland. That's what Jewish people pray 3 times a day. We kept our Jewish identity in diaspora in very difficult situations until we were able to come back and build our homeland after the Holocaust. No chance in the world that we will ever give it up, because this is our homeland, full stop. No need to explain more than that. So the ones that screams and demonstrate from the river to the sea, I think either they don't understand, or they come with dishonest intentions. They don't speak about peace in the Middle East. They're speaking about elimination of a nation and elimination of a state. Some of them I describe as useful idiots. I think it was in Norway, where I saw in some of the buildings, residential buildings, the flag of Palestine next to the flag of the gay community, LGTB, I think it's called, okay? Now, these people support Hamas and the rights of the gay community, but if a gay person comes to Gaza today, as he lands or as he crosses the border, he will be killed by Hamas, because Hamas kills gay population. It's done all the time, because Hamas cannot tolerate it. And when you see people that are supporting the Hamas and the gay rights, you ask yourself, maybe they are confused, maybe something is wrong, because you cannot be on both sides. So you understand that there's something behind it that might be the reason. And you ask yourself, what is the reason? And if you ask me, I think that there are people who are anti-Semitic, who don't like the Jewish people, but today you're not allowed to say so. Because one of the lessons on the rules or the legal system after the Second World War is that you cannot be against Jewish people as Jewish people. So what they do is they shift their hatred towards Israel as a symbol of the Jewish state. So they come and say, I'm against Israel. But what they really mean is that I'm against the Jewish people in general. And it's more easy and legitimate to attack Israel. And when they do so, they're not alone. You have financial support from Iran. You have financial support from Qatar. You have financial support from other radical elements in the Islam world. And those who encourage them to stand against Israel, I believe will encourage them in the future to stand against Europe. to stand against the values of Europe of today. And perhaps this is not clear, and perhaps in some countries where there is let's say, a significant number of radicals already, governments prefer to say, not in my time. Let's wait, the next government, the two governments ahead, deal with the problem. I want quiet. I don't want too many demonstrators. I don't want too many people to go out to the street and demolish the shops and whatever. So I will surrender quietly to their demands today, keep them in low flame, and postpone the problem for the next leadership to come after me. I think this is the case in France. I think it might be the case in Belgium and in other similar countries. But the problem is not going to disappear just because you did not treat it today. You leave the problem for the future. And I'm not here to give advice to any political leadership in any country, but I think it's a point to think about, because you're the next generation. I mean, I'm turning 64 very soon, and I don't know how many years I will be here to present it, but if you think about children, or my children or grandchildren, your generation or your children, in what world are they going to live if you will not take the step and stand today? And it's important to think deep and understand what are the currents under the water. Extremely important when you think about the future of Europe. And we're not alone, in this struggle, but sometimes we do feel that we are alone. We feel that what happens now in Israel is a kind of a sign to what might happen in other countries in the future. There is a say that the strategy of those radicals is to replace the bullets with ballots. You have many people in the country that will vote to a certain direction because they came as refugees, they did not integrate it or assimilate it in the country, and they were the ones to vote legally towards a change in the government. We don't feel like this in Israel because we believe that the minorities in Israel would like to have Israel continue. They see the samples around us, they don't like to live in such countries. But if significant number in some European countries will be influential enough, I don't know what the face and character of some of those countries is going to be. And it's a point for the local people to think about. I think I need to finish in 2 minutes, so maybe I will conclude with one story I shared with Yaakov, who brought me here, and thank you very much again. And it goes back, my real name is Eliezer. My nickname is Moody. When I was young, I was cute. My parents called me Hamudi, which means cute in Hebrew, and then it became Moody. But my real name is Eliezer. It's the name of my grandfather, my father's father, who was killed in the Holocaust. My father is a Holocaust survivor. He was very young in that time. He was 6 years when he saw in his own eyes how a German soldier is shooting to death his father, Eliezer, whom I'm called after. And then there was a farmer in that village where they live in Ukraine of today, who gave them shelter, but somebody told the Germans there are Jewish people there. It was my grandmother and 3 children. They were hiding in a barn on the upper floor of the barn, and the German soldier came. And in those days they had those rifles with a knife, So he came and he stabbed the straw in the 2 sides of the head of my father, said nobody is there, and he went. And this is how their life was saved. My father told me that story in the day I was swearing in as a minister. There was a ceremony in the parliament, and you bring your family, so they will be proud that the child is now a minister. Wow, I was 40 years old. And he told me that story, and he said that before the German soldier they saw them coming, his mother told them, children, this is the end. They're going to find us. And when they will do so, I will stand first. They will kill me so I don't have to see how they kill my children. And he told me, as a child, as a growing child in the Second World War, I could not imagine that the war will end. Because, in the middle of the war, you don't know what happens. I could not envision myself becoming a teenager, a grown-up, getting married, having a family, having children. Not to say that I could not think that one of my children will be a minister in the government. And not just the government of the independent Jewish state of Israel. And he said, these kind of things, I would not even dare to dream about. It was too far even to dream about. And here we are. We have the independent state of Israel, and our role is to defend it, make it flourish, and make it a home to all the Jewish people. Because as long as the gates of Jerusalem are open, the gates of Auschwitz will remain closed. And we're not going to change that. So thank you very much for your attention.
Special present for you, Mr. Minister.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you understood, the case of Israel is very complicated, but it is easy to explain in the context of traditional good relation between the Bulgarian and the Israeli people. That's why I think there will be some questions or comments on the lecture of Minister Sandberg. Има ли въпроси? Генерал професор Богданов, микрофон. Господин генерал, преди да зададете въпроса, забелязах, че има хора, които уважавам, а не споменах в началото на нашата лекция. Това са Зорница Илиева, политически коментатор. Това са доктор Елена Тодорова, директор на Регионалния център на ЮНЕСКО, една много важна институция в рамките на нашата държава, доцент Валентин Вацев и господин Боян Чуков, политически анализатор и геополитически коментатор. Моля за аплодисменти за нашата държава.
Thank you. So, Mr. Sandberg, me and my colleague we visited Israel 2 months ago. So, but it was too short period to receive impression concerning my question. Based on your lecture and on the situation in Israel, what is the opinion of the Israeli government and the Israeli society concerning the Palestinian state creation? This is my question. Thank you.
First of all, if you did not stay there for too long, you're welcome to come again. It's not, it's still there and we're waiting. Look, there is a dispute among Israelis, okay, about the question of the Palestinian state. The disputes are either between the ones who say no, the ones who say yes, but the ones who say yes will tell you yes, but. And the reason we say but is our fear that what is going to be established there will be similar to what was created in Gaza. And there is a reason for that fear, which I think I can point 3 main arguments. One is that by polls you see that the support to the Hamas there is very high. So if there will be free elections on the other side, probably Hamas or other extremists will win. And then you have the same pattern of Gaza, but in a much longer border and much closer to the Israeli main cities like Tel Aviv area, Jerusalem, even Haifa, where I come from. Secondly, I think, or we believe that if this kind of a situation will happen, it needs, from the Palestinian side, to show us that the intentions are different, okay? We believe that there is a reasoning, economical reasoning to keep peace. It's not only a document, because if you go just by the agreement, I think they will not respect the agreement full stop in the right moment, and the right moment will always be a weak point of view, okay? Normal. But if you build proper economy, if you build a middle class in the other side, if you give a future to the children, then it's another story, okay? And when you ask yourself about the future to the children, it's very much about education, what they receive in the schools, absorb in school from their teachers. If you go today, not to Gaza, if you go to Nablus, you go to other Palestinian cities, and you have to remember that today the Palestinian Authority manages, I think, 95% of the Palestinians' life, because they are in charge of all the civilian issues except for security. So in a way, they are very close to independent state per se, okay? Now, if you go to their textbooks, you see that the injection of anti-Israeli knowledge or position is there everywhere. I give you an example. You know, in elementary school, you have those questions about distance, speed, and time, right? Someone is going from Sofia to Burgas, 500 kilometers, he drives 100 kilometers per hour. How long it will take him? It's a mathematical question. But the question there is not like that. The question there will be, he's taking his granny to visit the occupied land of Haifa, where I am, or Jerusalem, or Tel Aviv. The distance is, they inject the hatred and the anti-Israeli propaganda in places that are supposed to be neutral, not talking about history. So what I see is that if education is not going to change, then the next generation is going to be at least as similar, if not more radical, because I did not speak about the influence of the radical theological or the religious leaders. So what we believe is that it will take a long process before we can feel that the question of independent state can stand for itself without the risk that we need to take. Because when you have an independent state, it's another story. You cannot take out the terrorists from there, you cannot do other things that are essential for our security. And I think that what the Palestinians did in October 7th, by the way, the Palestinian Authority never condemned it, okay? They did not condemn the attack from Gaza, okay? So if you see what they did there, it takes us at least a decade far from a chance of a Palestinian state.
Okay, very complicated case, of course. Some more questions? Вие представете се. Да, Петър. Сега ще ви дадем микрофон.
Professor Jordan Baev, visiting professor at Sofia University, former professor at Moscow National Defense College. I would like to avail the opportunity of your long political and social career to discuss also the very specifics of case study of Israel, starting from the beginning, of course, starting from different trends of cultural and even linguistic origin, from Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Mizrahi, and so on, but also different kind of statehood philosophy of state and orthodox ideas, which was interesting to see. What was interesting for us in a case of Israel is the kind of political fragmentation in the last 30 years probably, and how you are overcome this fragmentation, having such kind of different coalition governments. You were also in such kind of government. And perhaps many years ago, we discussed for civil-military relations. I was fellow at the U.S. Institute of Peace, and we discussed a special case of military democracy in Israel. Maybe it's interesting to learn more. And one short question, please. We are proud with the contribution of our Bulgarian Jewish contribution to your state. Could you say a few words of former foreign minister and chief of staff, Gabi Ashkenazi. His father was born in Lviv, you know, Yosef Ashkenazi, worked at the war of independence. And what you can say? A few words, just.
Before to answer, уважаеми колеги, професор Баев в скоро време под егидата на УлsIT ще представи в Националната библиотека една много интересна книга, за която ще получите информация допълнително и покани за посещение на представянето на книгата. Please.
Well, I don't know Gabi Ashkenazi's parents. I do know him in person, and I do appreciate what he did in the army. He was the commander of the Israeli army, kind of called to that duty after the Second Lebanon War, where we came to the conclusion that we need to refresh our army in many ways, domestically, I mean, organize it differently and other things, and he took that task upon himself very successfully, to my opinion. Then he went to politics for a certain period of time. Then he understood that, I think he understood that it's enough for him for that in that point of time, and he is not more involved in politics directly, at least. But if you are saying the name Gabi Ashkenazi in Israel, I think mostly people will say, yeah, he was a very good commander of the army, and also a very good soldier in different levels, in different positions before he became the commander of the army. And I think that this is where his history page is going to be written mostly in the military book, and his contribution to the security of Israel. I don't know much about his parents, so unfortunately I cannot share much. Maybe you can educate me more about it. And the first remark you had about the relationships between ultra-Orthodox, I think you meant the Jewish people, and the character of Israel as a more of kind of a liberal, or at least a non-Orthodox country. Yes, this is a very interesting structure in Israel. We have very many parties in Israel. It's not like in America where you have the Democrats and the Republicans, and that's it more or less. In Israel, you have 10, 12, sometimes more parties in the parliament. Parliament is made of 120 members, and you need 61 in order to get the majority, 50% plus one. Otherwise, you cannot run the country, though sometimes you can run the country with a minority government. And Netanyahu, for example, usually is partnering with the ultra-Orthodox because he found them more close to him in variety of positions, not by necessarily the religious dimension, but other dimensions. And the other side, the left, I don't know who will be the leader of the left in the future, they are more aligning, let's say, with the Arabs or with others that are in the parliament. No, it's a democracy. We do have.
Give possibility for one more question.
Sorry, yeah, you know, my wife says I talk too much. So
Последен въпрос, колеги. Професор Витанов.
I'm from the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. I have a technical question. My technical question is a little bit mathematical also. In the mathematics we have network theory. We have a network, and the network is a giant component. In the Israeli case, the Gaza case, the networks are the people in Gaza, and the giant component is Hamas. There is a criterion for the existence of giant component, and this is called moral criterion. As far as the Israeli army was in Gaza, the moral criterion has to do with the connection between the people. So the connection of Hamas with other people in Gaza are broken, and the moral criterion was not satisfied. This means that the giant component Hamas influence begin to shrink. But now when the Israeli army goes out of Gaza, the connection of Hamas with the people in Gaza will be reestablished, and the moral criterion will be satisfied again. This means that the giant component can grow again. How do you intend to tackle with this? This is very interesting for me, with this problem.
I have to tell you, it's the first time that I see the politics of the region fit into a mathematical model. So I'm not able to answer you in a mathematical language, okay? But I think that what we understand is that maybe there were mistakes on our side, okay, by giving chance or allowing the collaboration or intervention of external forces into the Gaza Strip. Qatar is an example for that, not only, but mainly Qatar in the past few years, because they were giving billions, a lot of money there with the approval of Israel, okay? This is one example. Now we talk about, I don't know where it fits your mathematical model, but we talk about an international force that will be in Gaza. Past experiences with international forces in Lebanon, etc., shows that they are very symbolic. You know, Hezbollah were digging the tunnel under their base, and they never said that they hear even the noise. So we don't know what is their influence. At the end of the day, I think that our conclusion is that if we will not take care for our defense and our future, probably nobody else will do it instead of us. There are others that will do it with us, like the Americans in Iran. We did not speak about Iran, but they will help us. But we do the actions, and we need to take the actions, and we need to be in control of that. Now, the question is what will happen with Hamas after it will be shrink or become very small. I don't believe it can be 100% eliminated, but it will be 1% of what it was before. Probably the influence is not there. There are other voices there now trying to raise, saying, okay, we would like to manage not on the whole territory, we would like to be in charge of where we live, like small groups, etc. Maybe that will be a solution. Maybe the international force, if it will be created, will be a part solution. And no doubt about it that we will need to keep our eyes open and our ears open all the time to make sure that what has grown in front of us to become a monster will not repeat again. So I don't know where it fits your model, but I think that at the end of the day, and from the beginning, it is very much about one hands.
Уважаеми дами и господа, лекцията свърши. Имам любезното съгласие на Негово Преосвещенство епископ Тихон да го помоля да благослови всички нас тук, а нека сега да благодарим на министър Сандберг с бурни аплодисменти.
Уважаеми професор Елчев, скъпи брати и сестри, благодаря сърдечно за това, че ми се дава възможност да кажа две думи. Макар че трябва да си призная, че дълбоко се срамувам да се изправя пред всички вас. Защото ние, духовниците, всъщност се дискредитирахме в този свят. Всички религии говорят за мир, всички говорят за Божия мир, а винаги се намират някои, които да използват именно религията, за да насъскват народи срещу народи, съседи срещу съседи, държави срещу държави. Беше един равин, който ми каза, че всъщност няма общочовешки морални норми. Не са общочовешки, защото все някой някъде не приема тези норми. И се оказва какво, че трябва да приемеме ние помежду си, да се разберем кое приемаме за добро и кое е за зло. И тогава, особено в майка България, се появява проблема. Кой е този, който ще каже кое е добро, кое е зло? Защото ние тук в България трябва да си го признаем. Гледаме един човек, когато говори, и първата ми мисъл е, мога ли аз на той да му кажа, кой си ти да ми кажеш? Това е първата мисъл на всеки един от нас. Ако мога това да му кажа, я да мълчиш. Ако не мълча, и му се подназвам. Значи единственият авторитет за това, кое е добро и кое е зло, може да е Бог. И то тогава, когато ние всички се откажем от богоядството, казват всички ние в своите религии, и приемеме онова, което е записано в свещените книги. Едните ще ги приемат като традиция на вечната мъдрост, други ще ги приемат като Божието повеление. Но на нас не трябва един авторитет, който действително никой да не подлага на съмнение. Защото иначе виждаме, има едно обезверяване в обществото и морала, който се илюстрира с една книжка на Хенрик Сенкович, когато едни деца там в Африка учат мегачетокали на морал и когато питат какво е добро, какво е зло. Зло, казва, е когато някой открадне биволите на Кали. А какво е добро? Когато Кали открадне биволите на някой. В това състояние на морал ние, много грубо го казвам, но понякога се намираме самите ние. Ние много не успяхме. Говори се за една гражданско общество, младежта. Поемете вие тогава това. Поемете да има някаква ясна граница, какво е добро, какво е зло и как ние всички общо, независимо от това как чувстваме, разбираме нашите понятия, заедно ще вървим. Благодариме сърдечно за това пояснение, което дадете. Лошото нещо е пак пропагандата и пак се опира до това, къде е добро, когато откраднеш биволите на някой. За съжаление, всеки гледа онова, което е ин, това, което е модерно. Съжалявам, но много се настани в западното общество, и тук в България чувам такива гласове, това да се критикува Израел и да се забравя какво са направили другите. А за мое най-голямо съжаление, тези всичките фанатици биват отплашени от религиозни водачи, което за мен е нещо невъобразимо. Да живеем някой ден, да доживеем някой ден, когато най-накрая ще бъдем принудени да приемем, че фанатизма не е нищо друго, освен утехата за онези, които иначе за нищо не стават. Тогава идват техните религиозни водачи и казват: какво ще говориш? Този бил професор, он е бил математик. Ти си повече от всичко. Ти си мюсюлманин, ти си в лицето на Аллаха си най-ценната вещ. Кой ще се откаже от всичко това? И в името на това да не бъде господин никой, вече проявява чудеса от кралство. Скъпи брати и сестри, позволяват си дори професорите, но вас, студентите, благославям от все сърце с това, докато сте живи, да сте здрави, бодри и с разум.
to some neighborhoods where it's a
One of the major principles was always not to involve politics in sports too much. Okay, actually the preference was not to involve politics and sports at all. And that is a major point because you try to bring sports to the people as a higher value than the political disputes. The more you deal with the political disputes, the less you have sports, and the more you have politicians in sports, which I don't think is good. And what happens recently is that the attempt to attack Israel in every field, science, politics, human rights, music, culture, and sports, is just an attempt to eliminate what I believe are the basic values of the concept behind the Olympics. Everybody needs to be there. Now, it's double sad and ridiculous because what they blame Israel with is false. So if there was like a real argumentation, maybe somebody could listen to part of it. But when you come with lies and false claims, supported always by the same group, that is the Muslim countries that are voting automatically against Israel, I mean, this is a lost battle, but it's not a lost battle for Israel. It's a lost battle for the values and the principles and what the whole Olympic Games are standing for from the beginning. And this is the sad point. You are, in a way, losing the whole structure for the sake of political causes of a group. And that should never happen.